Latimer City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Mike Maran, is this your fourth or fifth talk at the club, Mike? Yeah, your fifth talk at the club. Every time he comes to Thailand, he puts his hand up to give a talk. He's a world-class expert on handwriting. And as I say, it's not really handwriting, it's brain writing. And it shows things about how your brain works, or not. All right, thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks for that introduction, Ren. I'm very pleased to be here again. Some of you may have heard this talk. This is my first talk I originally did about 5 years ago, so I apologise for that, but some of you newer members may not have heard it. Okay, let's start off. Hands up those that can't read their own handwriting. Yeah. And hands up those that can't read the doctor's signature on the prescription. Yeah, most of you. So if I give you 1,000 people's handwriting, everybody's handwriting's going to be different. So I'm going to prove to you handwriting comes from the brain, not from the pen and paper. Handwriting is unique and personalised to everyone, and as soon as you get a letter in the mail, for instance, you're immediately noted who it's from, because it's coming from your brain. So basically my talk today is in two parts. First of all, graphology, and second of all, forensic handwriting and document examination. So let's not confuse the two. Graphology ascertains one's character through their handwriting, and forensic handwriting and document examination ascertains if the signature is genuine or not, and that's the majority of my work. And I'll tell you a snippet about a case that I have got here in Thailand at the moment on a question signature. Okay, let's hands up those that have heard of graphology before. Right, you can get books on it and study things on it in the library. A lot of forensic document examiners have already done a course on graphology just to get them started. Okay, so let's go through just a general introduction on graphology. Okay, so first of all, I'm certified from the United States. In New Zealand, I don't know about I doubt in Thailand as well, but there's no training organisation for this sort of work. I'm fully qualified for the two American association, that's the Scientific Association of Forensic Examiners and the International Association of Document Examiners. To renew your membership, you have to actually go through a course and a renewal thing which has to be peer reviewed, and you have to go through that course in order to renew your membership with these organisations. And these sort of certificates that you have are absolute credentials. If I go to court, that it gives you some sort of credentials and things like that. You've actually done the course as well. Right. Okay, these are the applications of graphology. Okay, first of all, it unlocks the mystery of human personalities. Employment recruitment, it's not so much done now because people are applying for jobs, emailing, but some employers do use me to see whether their employee is compatible with the job. Anyone here getting married again? Nobody? Anyone here getting divorced again? Nobody? Anyone here going through a gender transition here? Nobody? Okay, I can see whether you're both compatibility for marriage. is one of the things of applications of graphology. And forgeries and documents is the majority of my work, which in my reports I state that graphology is not used for any forensic handwriting and document examination. And I can pick up minor health warnings. Now, when you start writing, when you are younger, your writing goes into stages. First of all, you are in an impressionable stage. In your mid-years, your writing goes into a mature stage. When you're in your senior years, your writing goes into a degenerative stage. So I can pick up minor health warnings, and it's all to do with the rhythm of the writing. Okay, these are the things I cannot predict. I cannot predict the future. I cannot tell the writer's age or sex, but I can tell how sexually active you are or not. The writer's nationality, how you were taught to write, may have been something to do with the way you write. Left or right-handed doesn't make any difference to me. Children's handwriting I try and avoid, and of course the influence of education, how you were taught to write, may be still ingrained within you. Okay, so how's an analysis done? So after I go talking to you, don't go practicing on the mother-in-law or the boss, because if you get an analysis horribly wrong, it can be embarrassing for you and it can backfire on you. So really I don't care what you write, it's how you write. So I usually turn the page upside down and look at it through a microphone. I ask you to write on unlined paper so the pen is free from the constrictions of lines and boxes. I ask you to write in a comfortable position so the pen is well supported and the arm is well supported and you've got a stable surface. You write on an unstable surface like on your knee or the back of the car, the writing can be distorted. And of course, I use ballpoint pens. So you may ask why we are writing less now, because we've got computers and printers to do all that work for us. Well, how come big companies like Bic Pens are still selling millions of pens each year? So somebody's still writing down something every year. So ballpoint pens is what we usually look at for the pen pressure and line quality. Okay, these are the things that I look at. These are very much the similar traits that we actually look for when we do forensic document and handwriting examination. It's like a recipe, so we gel it all together and out comes an analysis. And it mainly pertains to the English language. I usually do use some Chinese characters, but I usually have to actually get an assistance with a native speaker on any other languages. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that anyone with very small writing may be introverted or very secretive. Anyone with very large writing is probably a pretentious show-off and just loves the limelight. I'd like to think that most of you have medium-sized writing, so you're all a good, well-balanced personality all round. So immediately the pictorial image displays something for you immediately. And remember, we call it brain writing, not handwriting. So once again, a well-balanced personality on the upper and the lower zones means you're well all-round balanced personality. Very small writing, maybe greedy, selfish, introverted, and as I said, very large writing may be somebody that can't concentrate for 5 minutes on anything. Usually people with small writing can concentrate, very good concentration powers, but very large writing, their mind is scattered all over the place. Okay, we look at the letter connections as well. There's 3 types of writing. There's printing, there's print script, and cursive. Printing is where the individual letters are actually formed individually. Print script is where there's an occasional pen lift between the letters, and cursive writing is where all the letters are connected. And we have a look at the type of letter connections as well. If I see the letter connections very rounded, maybe you're sort of a softer, easier person to get along with. Angular connections may mean somebody with actual tension and worry within them. So all these things that we look at, most of the people that connect with a cursive writing are logical thinkers. People that pen lifts between the letters are more intuitive in their thinking. Okay, one of the things that I look at is the upper zone and the lower zone letters, the proportions, the size, the actual association they have with the next letter. Upper zone letters like your H's, for instance, tell me about your aspiration and ambitions, and your lower zone, the G's and Y's, are all to do with the physical side of you. We have a look at these in proportion to the middle zone letters as well. Not only the size of the loop, the shape of the loop, the connection to the following letter, or any other anomalies, and any sort of proportional sizes, and also utilization of space as well. So we look and see how the letters are spaced out on the margins as well. People that write very close to the margin, left-hand margins, are more extroverted people. They like discussion and talking and conversation. People that have the margins to the very right, again, probably very much talkative, or maybe avoid other people. If I see the margins, if we look at the lower one in the middle where the margins start narrow and end wide, those people, money slips through their fingers a bit more easier than anticipated. If I see the margins starting wide and ending narrower, that means might be fatigue or money. They could be able to put on the handbrake when it comes to money. But again, that's why I asked you to write on unlined paper. Okay, we have a look at the baseline alignments. Any baselines that are ascending, meaning if it's going uphill, optimism, energy. If I look at the base, most of you will have a baseline that's slightly meandering. That means flexibility. If I see the baseline descending, that could mean fatigue or pessimism. If I see the baseline all over the place, that means you might be a little bit moody or changeable. Okay, do you know, for instance, there's about 50 ways to cross a T-bar, for instance. I'm just running through these very quickly. Not only the T-bar, but the T-stem, all of these mean a different aspect or different part of the personality. Remember, I look at the whole handwriting in its entirety and look at the dominant trait, and then I have to mix it all together and actually ascertain one's character. So if we look at number 1, plus there, the T-bar's flying ahead of the stem. Well, those people may be impatient for speedy results. Look at the one at the top, the very number 1 on the right-hand side, the T-bar's flying before the stem. That means you might be procrastinating or put things off to a later date. T-bars with hooks, for instance, have all different sort of they might be sort of people that like to keep things or won't let go. Not only the T-bar, but the T-stem and the association it has with the following letter are all important as well. So these things all have to be taken into consideration. The T-bar and the way you dot your I's is another thing that we look at. Okay, let's look at a couple of handwritings which are like chalk and cheese. Have a look at this one here. It's all printed in block capital letters. People that print in block capital letters like to communicate in an exact, precise manner. Often you'll see airline pilots printing in block capital letters. People that, in this particular case, this person would be very upset if their routine is changed. This person's got no sense of humour whatsoever. Very difficult to make friends with. And you can see the spacing between the writing is the actual rhythm is very cramped and rigid, and the actual spacing between not only the letter spacing, the word spacing and the line spacing is very much all the same. Very routine person, this person here. So immediately that reads back to you a more difficult person to get to know, as opposed to the next person. Okay, see how the rhythm of the actual writing strides right across the page. So this person is a much more likeable person, much more easy to get along with. Probably untidy bedroom, untidy house, but maybe an easier person to get to like. You can see that by the rhythm, it's much more friendly, extroverted person. So immediately you look at somebody's writing, you can tell whether that person's going to be somebody that you'll get along with or not get along with. Okay, even though we're signing things less, we're still signing things. Whether it's digital signatures are taking over, but we're still signing legal agreements by pen and paper. A signature is how you portray your image to the outside world. A signature is unique to you. A signature has to be looked at separately from the handwriting, because the same person can write, print and sign in different formats, as we'll see a little bit later. A signature is something that's you've developed over many years, and that's very unique to you. And a signature here of, isn't it nice to see a clear, legible signature now, instead of the scribble that we see from lots of people that scribble their signature. This person here is a personality that back in New Zealand that we know. You can see the signature. Besides being very clear and legible, it's dominated with very high upper zone loops. So a lot of this person's very aspirational and ambition, and punctuated by very small middle zone letters. So he pays close attention to details. And also the signature is upright, so he's emotionally controlled. As a general rule, most of the handwriting that we see is forward-leaning. So people with forward-leaning handwriting are more extroverted. People with upright writing are more emotionally controlled. People with backward writing, left-hand slant, are more emotionally controlled but very difficult to get to know, only have a few friends. People with mixed slant, well, they can be also inclined to be a little bit moody. Okay, now we've all got a piece of paper in front of us. What I'm going to ask you to do is sign that piece of paper and swap it with your next door neighbour or somebody you don't like, or whoever. And I'm going to ask you to sign your signature. I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then I'm going to ask you a whole lot of questions about the signature, and you're going to respond with a show of hands. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're going to respond with a show of hands. And I'm hoping the majority of hands will go up for this one. Hands up those signatures which are legible, which you can read. Right, that's good. Okay, all you people are genuine in thought and action, and honest and straightforward in your purposes. You're reliable. Okay, let's go the opposite way. Hands up those signatures which are illegible. Can't read. One or two. Okay, right. So maybe you people have a desire to avoid or evade commitments. You think your time is more important than somebody else's. It could be dealing with us. It could be somebody who's a sign of rudeness as well, but on the plus side it could mean a sign of intelligence as well. Don't get me wrong, every time the lawyer or the doctor signs, it's actually a time-saving constraint with the legibility of signatures, because they scribble a signature, so it's more of a time-saving constraint. Any signature that's got a middle initial in the middle of it. Okay, right. All you people have a proper pride and sense of dignity about yourself. Okay, have a close look at the signature now. Has anyone's signature got a full stop after it? Okay, 1 or 2. Yep. 2, right. So anybody with a full stop after the signature likes to have the final say. And no action can be entered into. So anybody a signature that you think's too large for the piece of paper it's on? Nobody? Anybody's signature too small for the piece of paper it's on? Okay. Anybody's signature that's got flourishes and embellishments on it, curls and things like that? Okay, 1 or 2 or 3. Okay. Maybe these people like to be noticed. Flamboyant person, could be eccentric, good salespeople. Okay, have another close look at the signature. Anybody's signature underlined, a line underneath? Right, 1 or 2 there. Okay, so all you people think that you've got a personality, a personal magnetic charm about yourself. In other words, you're underlining your own self-importance. Is anybody's signature strange looking design as though it's come from outer space? 1 or 2. Okay, well you might be sitting next to an oddball character. Any signatures with a line through it, crossed through? Good, I'm glad to see that. That could be in a dissatisfaction with the marriage name, or in extreme cases, suicidal tendencies. Okay, have another close look at the signature. Anybody's signatures that contains a large lower zone G or Y in the signature, large lower zone loops. 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, that's people that's got the G's and the Y's in their surnames. Okay, not many. Okay, we'll wait for it. This will come as a bit of a bombshell. Anyone with very large lower zone loops in the G's and Y's has got a very sexual, active appetite. Okay, anybody's lower zone loops short, just a one stroke, or not cross through or anything like that? Okay, nobody. Well, that's the opposite of what I've just said. In other words, try oysters. Okay, anybody that has 2 signatures here, 2 different types of signatures? Okay, those people probably tend to lead separate party lives and separate private lives as well. It's not uncommon for people to have 2 different signatures or 2 different styles of signatures and that. Remember, the signature and handwriting can change due to personal and emotional and medical time of signing as well. Anybody's signature ascending, uprising? Okay, maybe optimism today, energy. Anybody's signature descending? Nobody. Okay, right. Is anybody's signature dominated with a very large capital letter on it? Okay, you think that you've got a high status in society and like to portray an air of authority about yourself as well. In other words, you think yourself worthy of attention. Okay, so basically that's a basic thing of the signatures, of looking at signatures. Remember, it's got to be compared with the handwriting as well to get a full indication. If anyone can't understand whose signature they're sitting next to, come and see me after the meeting and I'll give you a private talk. Whether it's going to be good or bad or neutral, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's move on to the more serious side of what I do, and that's forensic handwriting and document examination. the majority of my work is looking at wills. Now mum or dad's estate is worth much more money than what it was first signed. Wills are the most documented things that are in dispute. One of the reasons I am in Thailand, or not 100%, because I have actually got a case here in Thailand, in Bangkok, that is involving a disputed will on a gender transition case. So there's probability next month I might have to go to court and give evidence. But wills are the most number one disputed. When it comes to money, there's no boundaries, especially family disputes. And even when mum or dad's very sick on their last legs, some of the family might actually try and persuade them to actually sign to their benefit. But wills are things that are most important, one of the things that we in dispute. Okay, so when I look at the signatures, I look at it under microscope. It's only under microscope that actually you can see some of the subtle and unique traits of the signatures. Now, on the right-hand side is the question signature, and on the left-hand side is the known signatures. The more known signatures, the more known signatures that we have, is it this one? That one. Okay, the more known signatures or reference signatures we have, the closer my strength of opinion. You can see people are very clever simulating signatures, but when it comes to trying to simulate somebody's signature, your own habitual habits may kick in. And I'm seeing a lot of cut and paste documents as well. So whenever you send me a case, I've got to have the known signature and the question signature. So again, on this side, the question signature, this side, the known signatures. It's preferable that the known signatures have to be signed within a 2 or 3 time frame of the question signature, because people's signatures can change over a period of time. The signatures also, I need to actually have a sort of a timeline of the signatures, how it was changed. Now every time we sign, I'll go on to the next slide. Yep. Okay, so once again, the question signature along with the known signatures. Now in this case here, you can see it's obvious the terminal stroke's different. You can see the terminal stroke on these ones there are different. What else was different on that? Okay, this has got a loop on it, that's got a loop, and there's no loop on that. When people think that they're clever in imitating somebody's signature, the most important thing that we need to look at is the line quality and the pen pressure. That's why when I look at documents, I really need the original documents. Half the time the documents are photocopied. The more time somebody photocopies a document, the actual it lessens the traits of the signature. So original signatures are the most preferred. Okay, this is a case I did in Fiji. I can't underestimate looking at the original documents. In this case, this was 7 signatures on a deed of lease on a sugarcane plantation. And I actually did the report for the client, and it's only when I looked at the original signature in the courts that I could see that the original signature had been overwritten with correctional fluid just down there. And that sort of changed the whole aspect of the whole thing there. That is the question signature there, and that's sort of expanded using a microscope. And by using the microscope, we can look at the different subtle traits that differentiate between the question signature and the known signatures. But important, original documents. I'll never go conclusive on a photocopied document, and that because I leave myself wide open to be cross-examined by the lawyers. Okay, we need to know different ways how people can sign, write and print in different formats. So for instance, on the left-hand side is the question signature, and you can see on the right-hand side are the known signatures. So this person's got a different type of signature, his printing's different, and then he can change his signature again, and that. So basically, we need to know the way people can write. People are very clever. The human mind's quite adept at writing and variation and that. So we need to know the different ways of the actual printing, writing and signature variations. Okay, we look at the document as well, the actual signature, what it was signed on. We look at the paper stock and actually paper manufacturer, the type of paper that was used, if anything was cut and pasted. If I can see background pixels on the paper, that means it might have been actually cut and pasted or copied and pasted. Have a look at the margins. If the paper cut was nice and clean, if anything's been copied and then transferred to another document. All these are red flags on the circumstances behind the actual why somebody comes to me. Okay, most of my cases are all to do with money. In this case, this was a matrimonial case. In this case here, the person came to me with just the name here on the card and wanted to know whether this was his ex-wife. So I've actually, just because I've only got one main word to go on, but he gave me a whole lot of other known letters or writing from the person. So we can see the actual K is the same constructional aspects. The Y is the same constructional aspects. What else did I look at? Yeah, I think was what did that come from? Can't remember that one there. Okay, the way the E is actually, the crossbar of the E was very much similar. The actual slope, the upper zone slope of the L was on the same degree. So all these sort of things that I said, it was that both of the known ones was known to the actual question ones. Okay, I can't underestimate looking at signatures through a microscope. So we look at it macroscopically and microscopically. In this case here, on the top is the microscopic photos of the question signature. These are the known signatures on this side, and again these are just been snipped or macroscopically. And it's only under microscope on this particular case here, you'll see it on the next slide, that I can see there's another touch-up stroke here on that one there. That's a vital mistake. When you sign a signature, it should be fluent. You shouldn't have to go over it and touch it up. So any touch-up strokes are a red flag that it's non-genuine. There's your touch-up stroke blown up again there. And that. So it's signatures should be unconsciously implemented. If you consciously implement your signature, that means you're not really, you're trying to simulate somebody else's signature, and I can tell that with the line quality and the rhythm and that. In this case here, we've found all these different anomalies when we looked at the signature. Short initial stroke, degree of slant differs from the known signature, the touch-up stroke, which was the most important, and the base of the capital letters was wider for measurement from there to there, was wider as well, and that with everything. Yep. Okay, I probably talked to you about last time, although we don't sign cheques anymore. This is a case of a caregiver that I had that used to look after this elderly gentleman. Every time she'd sign a cheque for $100, and next thing that they knew, that they found the cheque was 3 noughts added onto the 100 to make it $100,000 and that. So, and I think she was probably guilty, because the normal way she normally signs is that there's a gap in the actual pen of the 2 zeros, but the actual, guilty part of the brain shows when she signed the question signatures, the zeros were joined, and again that's a blow-up photo. That's how she normally writes the zeros, with a gap between, but the guilty part of it, the zeros were joined. And also you can see sort of stab marks, diacritical stab marks within the actual line quality. By the way, this is a signature, what we call a deteriorated signature. This gentleman, he had dementia, and because of that, she knew he had $10 million in the bank, that's New Zealand dollars, and that shows she took advantage of it. What I can say, because of the backlog of work that I've had to bring some work with me, there's more cases of deception, more cases of dishonesty, more cases of fraud in the community than ever before, and it's just people's greed about money or material things are actually, there's no boundaries. And as I said, the main thing that I look at for handwriting is for forensic document examination is actually monetary, for financial gain, or for malicious intent, somebody sending death threats and hate mail. Okay, what's wrong with these two signatures? Well, there's nothing wrong with them, except when we sign, we never sign in exactly the same way each time. Every time we sign, there's going to be some natural, what we call natural variation. You've just signed your signature now. If I ask you to sign it again, there's going to be some sort of natural variation. So if I see the two signatures exactly the same, they may match trait for trait, that means they've been cut and pasted or electronically manipulated from one document to another. As I said, and that's a red flag. If there was some variation between the signatures, then I know they've been actually penned, but one's been electronically manipulated or cut and pasted from another document. So one of the signatures is non-genuine. Okay, don't think you can get away with looking at signing things in letters. Numerals are important. People like to alter timesheets or things like that. So numerals are unique and personalised to you. The way you form your numerals, the constructional features, the gaps between the letters are all very much evident with numerals as well. Okay. As I said, malicious intent is one of the big things that I look at. People, especially when it comes to boredom or employment cases, are very much in the forefront of malicious intent. In this case here, how would you like to come to work in the morning, shift your keyboard and see the obscene word here. So what I said to this organisation, you actually give me the employees' application sheets, and then I went through them and I said these are the two likely candidates to write that word, because your habitual writing is very much the same. So these were in capital letters and this was in capital letters as well. And that, so basically your habitual characteristics will stay with you. Okay, question for you. Is this the same author or a different author? Okay, I'll put you out of your, not misery, but inquiring. It's, these are the same authors. So it shows you how clever the human mind is. The actual letter constructions are the same. Look at the U there and the U there. The gaps between the letters, between the writings the same. The gaps between the letters are the same. The pen pressure and the line quality are the same. And that in the way some of the eye dots are more on top of, are exacting the same. The T-bar actually, where they cross the T-bar is the same. So this was the same person. When you read the type of what the contents of the actual letters are, or the note is, you can see it's not very nice. It's meant to actually harm somebody, or meant to actually give somebody some sort of grief or bad feeling. Okay, so which one of these could be the forgery? As I said, people are very clever at simulating writing. Okay, so when your pen gets momentum, it has to stop and think before it goes on to the next letter. So basically, we can say number 6 here is the actual, could be the forgery. You can see the very small terminal stroke, where the terminal strokes on these are blunt. And that. So basically, it's the very fine, subtle traits between the question and known signatures that differentiate between one is genuine and one is non-genuine. And as I said, people are very careful at simulating signatures or forging signatures, and people think there's a lot of practice after it, but that's why they come to somebody like me. Okay. Do you have problems making a decision? Basically, when I look at a report that I do, the next slide will show you the actual strength or scale of evidence that we use. We don't make an opinion on percentages. We make it on an international scale of actual probabilities. And as I said, I'll never go conclusive on an original document. Yep. Okay, these are the actual opinions that are expressed these ways. Now, it's very rarely I'll go conclusive, which is identification. I've got to be a little bit prudent or cautious when I look at given an opinion, because I've got to remember it could end up in court and I could be cross-examined by a lawyer, and it's his job to actually cut me in pieces and work on his behalf for the client. So mainly I go probability. I'll only go conclusive on original documents. Most of the time I'll go probability, or maybe if I can't see any, if there's not so many, if I haven't got enough exemplars or reference signatures, I'll go inconclusive. I've got to think, just because somebody's paying me to actually do a report doesn't mean to say that the outcome's going to be in their favour. I've got to be unbiased and neutral when looking at the report. And a lot of the times it involves, could be millions of dollars of mum's or dad's estate, or it's always mainly money as the background to it all. But this is an international scale that we use. So if you ask me to give it in percentages, the client may say, can you bump it up by another percentage? I say, no, this is how we actually use a scale of probabilities in expressing our opinion. And whenever I do a report, I've got to back it up with how I came to that conclusion, or how I came to that opinion on a scale of actual of all the actual differentiations of the traits. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, how did you actually, how come I'm going to prove to you writing comes from the brain, not from the pen. And have a look at the beautiful script from this person here, one of the charities back in New Zealand that I support, foot and mouth artists, and look at the beautiful script that's coming out of the pen, and he's just lying on bed with the pen in his mouth and that. So writing comes from the brain, not from the pen and paper. Okay, this is what happens when our Prime Minister puts something in our letterbox for electioneering purposes. This is our Prime Minister of New Zealand. I haven't looked at the Thailand Prime Minister or any others, but you can see with this case here, he's underlining his own importance with a very large underline stroke underline there. He's got a very long initial stroke, so he may be argumentative or quarrelsome. The signature ascends like that, so he may be probably very much, he's always optimistic or enthusiastic whenever he talks. The actual signature's punctuated with a lot of angular pen, especially on that part there, the M's for instance, so he's maybe under tension. And then very high upper zone loops, so he's probably got a high opinion of himself. And that's so yeah, so that's just an indication on oh, sorry, I've jumped around a little bit from forensic document examination back to graphology, but this all signatures and handwriting. Yep. Okay, what's our signature of the world's most famous or infamous president's going to tell you about? Okay, Donald Trump's signature. When you look at him when he signs something, his whole body shakes, doesn't it? So Donald Trump's signature looks like a barbed wire fence. He's impossible to live with. He only takes decisions based on his own thinking. He doesn't listen to anyone else. He's highly critical of everyone else, very angular, a lot of tension and anxiety. He would be pure hell to live with. And that. So how the wife puts up with him, I don't know. But you can see the signature, very heavy pen pressure, so very bad-tempered, grumpy. If you don't agree with him, then he'll tell you straight. But the signature is very much angular in formation and that. And as opposed to when they were good friends, that's Kim's signature next door there. The press photography got that for me. Kim's signature, that's probably in Koreans, but anyone can probably say from that one he doesn't like to do any hard work. Not that he does any work anyway. Yep. Okay. We're coming to the end of the talk, so I'm going to show you what alcohol does to the writing. So, the first drink, the pen pressure and the line quality and the rhythm are normal. 2 or 3 drinks after starts to deteriorate. After the 3rd or 4th drink, the writing becomes unintelligible. After about the 7th drink, the writing becomes a disorientated mess on the actual writing, totally unintelligible, and that. So the moral of the story is, how come you can be drunk in charge of a car, but not drunk in charge of a pen as well? And that, yeah. Okay, so handwriting makes you smarter. There's nothing that stimulates the brain than tapping on the keyboard rather than tapping on a keyboard. And there's lots of studies showing that handwriting actually stimulates the brain much more than typing. And it's being cursive writing's been brought back into schools now, and that. I actually, with handwriting now, especially with graphology analysis, it can be done through AI now, and that. But still, handwriting stimulates the actual motor zone things in the back of your brain. Okay, so that's the last slide. And that, so this talk I did for you last year on some of the cases that I did. So basically, I'm going to ask for any questions, but hopefully none of you want to visit me in the office for any forensic cases that you have. But basically, I don't think it's prevalent in Thailand. It's a lot in the Western countries. Remember, only about 10% of my cases end up in court. The cost of going to court, the time going to court. Some of it people go to the court because it's the principle of it. But most of the things that handwriting is resolved through my report. In some cases the person may deny it. Some cases the person may agree with it. But going to court is a lengthy, costly process, and that's why it may not end up there. So hopefully none of you will ever have a case like this, but you never know. With more financial dishonesty out there, you never know, you may be a victim one day, hopefully not. Well, thank you for listening to me, and If there's any questions or you want to show me your signature after, then no problem.
Hello. Hello, Mike. Very interesting talk. Thank you very much. After that talk, I've decided just to do typing, no signing, nothing. Because I don't want to tell people my character.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to ask you, have you found it more problematic from changing from a fountain pen to a biro? Signatures do change then.
Yeah, this actually what changes is the pen pressure and the line quality, because sometimes a fountain pen will release more ink, and you can tell with the pressure changes rather than ballpoint pens. So it's always handy to know what writing instrument that I use. In a lot of cases, some of the ethnic ones that I look at, people there have got their own characteristics, and I'm also very sorry to say about 50% of my cases in New Zealand are new immigrants. So I've got to ask whether their English is a second language and the way they write has to be taken into consideration.
Thanks very much, Mike. That was a great talk. My question is, if somebody uses a second initial in their signature and puts a dot after the second initial, has that got a significance?
It's probably more habitual thing, but it may be because they probably think that they would probably like to be called by their Christian names rather than the middle names, or known by the middle, not by the middle name. It's probably a more known thing, so that's an unconscious dot after the middle initial. Yes, that's just a psychological thing, maybe. Yeah, but the pen still continues to write the surname. Yeah.
Hello, thank you for that wonderful dissertation. I noticed one of your earlier slides, the sentence was written by someone who had 2 drinks, and I noticed that the writing was far more pleasing and somewhat artistic when he had 2 drinks versus no drinks at all. I wonder if you could say a little bit about that.
Well, probably it's the pictorial, everybody's writing displays a different pictorial image to the actual reader. Maybe 2 drinks, he's loosened up a bit and the actual pen has flowed. It's not so rigid in its actual formation of the letters. The pen is much more smoother in its execution and much more fluent. So probably that's where you may have picked up the difference between the having no drinks and the second drink.
So
probably.
Should we ask how many drinks have you had today?
Yeah.
3 before breakfast.
Oh, right. Okay.
Anyway, so of course how you perceive the signature and handwriting will depend on whatever chemicals you might have ingested too, right?
Okay, my question, thank you for your talk. My question is, when I, more than 15 years ago, signed in Germany, I signed my full first name and my full second name. And when I came to Thailand, I did the same, but I saw it was many times I have to write. And so I start to make only the first letter from my first name, and from the second letter the second terms. And now I have problems. I'm 76. Now I have problems to do it because I get old. I'm not drunk.
Yeah. Well, that's not uncommon. That's something to do with when you've changed your environment from your home town to Thailand, you probably may have gone through some personal or emotional or medical circumstances. And your signature probably has changed due to that. So it's what you've just described to me. It's not uncommon for that to happen. it's just going through life's changes. So when you look at your handwriting in the past and your signature now, you can see the actual difference of changes, and those changes are undergone part of your life history, your personal and emotional and actual local environment can actually affect the way you write as well. And have a look at, and maybe the surface and how your pen was gripped as well, have a look at that. So maybe it's probably a minor health warning as well. So old age catches up with us in the end, but it shows through on the writing and the pictorial image of the signature as well. Yeah, not uncommon.
You did ask whether people had two signatures, and I do. I use one signature for important documents, and a noticeably different signature for things that aren't that important, in case someone uses it to copy it for the important things. I thought I was just being careful, but after your talk, I'm wondering whether I have a split personality.
No, it's not uncommon. No, it's as I often see people use different types of signatures for formal use and informal use. Yeah. But if you came to me with a question, somebody's tried to simulate your signature, I would actually ask that for comparison standards that signature was looked at. Is it informal or informal? And that. Obviously you're going to sign much more slowly on a legal agreement or a house sale than, say, a petrol voucher or a visa or something like that. It's going to be scribbled. But what you've described to me, no, it's not uncommon. Remember, we're much too complicated creatures as human beings to get 100% accuracy, and because of the complications, us humans, that variation of signature styles is nothing that surprises me.
Yeah, I find that the formal signature that I use, because, as you say, I'm being more careful, it tends not to be as fluent as the other signature.
Yeah, a formal signature, you're right, you'll sign more slowly because you want to make sure it's you. Yeah. But in an informal signature, if you're in a hurry, well, you'll just scribble it and you don't care if they'll come back to try and identify you. But no, totally not uncommon as well. Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, because you're concentrating more, though it doesn't feel as fluent when you're doing it. So it's probably...
Yeah, but it's still an unconscious attempt. Mm-hmm. Both signatures are still unconscious. Yeah. And if I see you've consciously attempted the signature, then I know that one of them's not genuine at all. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. That was very enlightening. Thanks for your time. I have a little strange question. So we've all heard of the auto pen in USA, Biden, auto pen and all of that. So with AI now, you can train AI on my handwriting, and eventually, because it has the ability to with a ball pen, so would you be able to do your job, let's say, in 10 years' time?
Well, we have done a lot of research on this, and we actually have submitted a lot of question writing to AI, and every time we've submitted it, there's been a slightly different variation of the analysis. When the human being has done it, and compared with another human that's handwriting experts, it's much more accurate in that. Yeah, so AI is probably still in its development stage, but it's coming on strong. But we're still thinking, if I went to court and said AI said this about the signature, then it might have been thrown out of court. But it's actually, tests have been done on it that it's not 100% accurate. It's an indication, but not a complete conclusion. Yeah. Best human beings done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Very interesting talk. I just wonder whether people knew this and whether you know this. It hasn't got a lot to do with you, but when I get my passport, I have a double-barreled name, so it's TODD-WHITE. So every time I ask for an air ticket or anything, they can't put the bit in the middle. So I have to, they say, oh, make sure you write it exactly as it's in the passport, but I can't do it because it doesn't get accepted.
All right, okay.
Aircraft airlines, no, cannot do it.
All right, okay. Is that on the document itself, on the ticket or the passport?
In the passport it's double-barreled, but when it comes to actually filling up any form or anything to do with air tickets or anything like that, and when they print them out, they can't put the bit in the middle, the dash.
All right, okay. All I can really say, passports and driver's licenses for reference signatures are not a good indication because the signature's been compressed into lines and boxes. The signature should be unlined paper where it's free to form without any constrictions at all. But in your case there, I can't answer the question why, maybe your name is too long or something like that, or you need to cut out the middle name. Oh, it goes, well, as long as it's the same name that's in the passport, then how can they refuse? Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, oh, okay, interesting. Okay, no, I haven't, yeah, no, I haven't come across that, no, but it's always the first time, yeah.
Thank you for a great talk, Mike. We appreciate your time. Do you have an example of the difference in pen pressure? Do you have a sample of that you can show us, what that looks like?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Do you have an example you can show us about what different pen pressures look like?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Pen pressure is more, when you look at it under microscope. Pen pressure is the line quality, and we have a look at the line ductus as well. That's the actual internal part. You've got a line, and then internal you've got the actual what is filled with ink, or the edge of the line is the line ductus. And if I see heavy pressure patterns, that means it could be, it's always interesting to know what pen it's come from, because some pens will release more ink at the nib and some pens not. But usually if you do an upstroke or a downstroke, you'll put more pressure to form the upstroke than the downstroke, especially on loops and things like that. But the actual commenting on pen pressure and line quality is best done under microscope and knowing what sort of pen was used. But that's very important when we look at differentiating between the question and known signatures. Yeah, very important.
Hi, thanks for your presentation. Is there any kind of expert opinion about the auto pen? Because you may have heard in the United States there's a lot of criticism of former President Biden for using the auto pen, and other presidents use it too. And the current president's claiming that all of those signatures are invalid. And as a matter of fact, at the White House, instead of a picture of President Biden, there's a picture of the auto pen machine.
Yeah, it's that's something that comes in. Auto pens, probably because they haven't been formed by the human hand, or they've been. I don't know how it quite works, but I would say most of them would be non-genuine. But auto pens are probably made for promptness, or get something done in a hurry, or something like that, or for simulation purposes. But it's something that we've got to be aware of, and something that's probably coming in. And say auto pens may, like AI, get much more developed as we go on. But I think auto pens may miss out some of the finer, subtle traits that the human mind and the human pen put onto the paper. They may not pick up on that. So pictorially, when you look at a auto pen signature, you'll think it's the same, but when you look at under microscope where it's actually been penned by hand, you'll see the very fine, subtle traits that differentiate between the two.
Wow, thank you, Mike.
That's okay.
I must say the fifth talk was the best yet. It was.
Oh, thank you.
You're getting better,
Yeah.
so keep practicing and.
Will do.
Well, no, you're most welcome. Every time you come here, please, contact Liz and book in again.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it was just another wonderful talk. And it was very interesting swapping the hand signatures and stuff. But, these experts look at my old signature, my previous name, and they go on about my out-of-control sex life, sex urges. That's not true, is it?
Yes, it is true.
All righty. You won't. No, well, don't show them. It's too revealing. All right. Thank you, Mike, again for a wonderful, wonderful talk.
Yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come here and catch up with old friends, and most enjoyable every year I come to Thailand. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Mike. And I really like this idea of, getting a peek into the guy next to you subconscious by looking at his signature. That's really cool.